Have you ever felt that there is a woman who is not free in her life, yet all her actions with you say something completely different? Have you looked at her in a fleeting moment and felt that there is something unexplainable between you and her, something that is not spoken aloud, but it exists? As if she is telling you something without uttering a word. Let's be clear from the start. This is not an invitation for any wrong behavior, nor is it encouragement to break boundaries or betray or manipulate others' feelings. Quite the opposite. Sometimes understanding is the only thing that protects you from getting into a complicated situation, or from misinterpreting things that could lead to problems you don't need. The idea here is not what you do, but what is actually happening. Because if you've reached this point, you likely didn't come from nowhere. You noticed something. Maybe the way she talks to you is different. Maybe her glances. Maybe her excessive interest. Or those small details that no one else notices but you. Things that seem ordinary to others, but for you, they carry meaning. And now you are stuck in that gray area. You ask yourself, am I imagining things? Or is there really something real happening? The problem is that this kind of feeling does not manifest clearly, especially when the woman is married, because she simply knows exactly what's at stake. She knows the boundaries, she knows the consequences, and that's why, if there's something inside her, it won't show easily. Instead, it will appear in the form of hints, small actions, fleeting moments, but they are repeated. And here the confusion begins, because you can't grasp something clear, but you also can't ignore what you feel. And the strange part? You start to notice that it's not just a coincidence. Once, twice, 3 times, the same pattern repeats. And here your mind starts to connect the dots, and that's exactly what makes the matter sensitive, and complicated, and very real. Because what we are going to talk about now are not theories, nor ready-made advice, but real situations that happen every day, and maybe have already happened to you. The first sign is that she always finds a way to communicate with you. Not directly, nor clearly, but in a way that seems very ordinary on the surface. Imagine this scene. You are sitting, maybe at work, or in a place where you know her. Suddenly she comes and asks you something very simple, a question that anyone else could answer, or she could even look it up herself. But she came to you. Once again, a simple message. Do you know how to do this? Can you help me with this? At first it seems normal, but over time, you start to notice a pattern. It doesn't disappear for long. There is always a reason, even if it's small, even if it's unnecessary. She just doesn't want the line between you to be cut. And it doesn't stop there. Once the conversation starts, it doesn't end quickly. You find her adding another topic. She opens a new discussion. She asks for your opinion about your day, about things unrelated to the first question, as if the goal wasn't the question, but you. And here the strange feeling begins, because you realize that this is not just casual communication. This is communication intentional, and psychologically, this behavior has a clear meaning. When a woman feels attracted to someone she can't approach directly, she looks for safe ways to get closer, ways that don't raise suspicion, ways that can be easily justified. The simple question is just a cover, but the real goal is to create a continuous presence in your life. She can't say, I want to talk to you, but she can say, I need your help. And that's a big difference. But in the end, it leads to the same result. And with the repetition of this pattern, it shifts from coincidence to habit. And here you start to feel that there is something deeper than just ordinary communication. The second sign, you will notice it without her telling you. Instead, you will see the change with your own eyes. Her concern for her appearance when she is around you. Not all the time, not in front of everyone, but strangely, in your presence specifically. Imagine you are used to seeing her in a certain way. Simple, ordinary. Maybe she doesn't care much about the details. Then suddenly, on the days you know you will be around, she changes. Different clothes, attention to her hair, a noticeable perfume. Small details, but they are noticeable. At first, you might tell yourself, maybe it's a coincidence. But when it happens repeatedly, you start to notice the timing, as if there is a preparation happening before she sees you. The strangest part, you might notice her glances. She looks at you, then quickly looks away. Or she tries to make sure you noticed. And here the real question begins inside you. Is she doing this for me? Psychologically, this behavior is linked to something very simple. A person, when attracted to someone, wants to present themselves in the best light in front of them, even if they don't admit it, even if they try to hide it. Concern for appearance becomes an indirect way to attract attention. And because she can't express it clearly, she expresses it silently. Her appearance becomes a message. A message says, "Notice me," but without words. And this type of signal is sometimes stronger than words themselves, because it's unplanned and indirect, but very sincere. And most importantly, it only repeats in your presence. Here, it's no longer just a casual interest in appearance. It becomes directed behavior. And this is what makes you feel that something is different. Something that doesn't happen with everyone, but only with you. And here the story begins to take a deeper shape. Because you no longer see just actions, but you start to see a pattern. A pattern that's hard to ignore, and also hard to interpret simply. Sometimes you don't need to ask her any direct question, because all the answers are in front of you, but in an unclear way, as if they are scattered in small details. If you put them together, you will understand the complete picture. Imagine this scene. You post something very ordinary on social media, a picture, a status, or even a simple sentence. You don't expect any special interaction, just something fleeting like anything else. But she is always there. The first like, the first view, sometimes the first comment, or a light reply which seems ordinary to others, but carries a different tone when you read it. Hours pass, and you discover that she has seen everything you posted. Even the details that no one pays attention to, she sees them. Sometimes she replies to a story after hours, as if she was thinking about what to say. And sometimes she doesn't respond with words, but settles for a simple symbol, yet you feel there's meaning behind it. And here begins that strange feeling, that she is watching you, but not in an annoying way, rather in a way that shows interest. Not general interest, but directed interest, as if she follows you more than she should. Then comes the strangest part. You find her bringing up topics from things you posted. She might say, for example, "The picture you posted yesterday, where was that place?" Or, I liked what you said in that situation. She remembers things that you yourself have forgotten. And here, the feeling changes, because you realize that this is not just a normal use of the app. This is focus. Focus on you. And from a psychological perspective, this type of behavior doesn't happen without reason. When someone cares about you, they start to follow you indirectly. Social media becomes a safe window, a place through which they can see you, know your news, and feel close to you without actually getting close. Especially if there are boundaries or circumstances preventing them from getting closer. So they compensate for that with silent observation. Continuous interaction is his way of saying, I'm here, I see you, and I care, but without saying it outright. And that's what makes it complicated, because there is no acknowledgement. But at the same time, there is no neglect, just a constant presence. And this presence starts to leave its mark inside you. Another sign appears in a much simpler way, but carries a deeper meaning than you can imagine. It asks for your help, repeatedly. Not a big request, nor something complicated. Very small things. Can you look at my phone? It's not working well. Do you understand this topic? I need your opinion. Can you help me choose something simple? At first, it seems ordinary. It's natural for people to ask for help, but when it happens repeatedly, in the same way and in the same style, and specifically from you, that's where the difference begins. Because you might notice something strange, that some of these requests can be solved easily. Sometimes you yourself wonder, why did you ask me this? It's very simple. But she wasn't looking for the solution. She was looking for you, for a moment spent with you, for a conversation that starts over something simple and then continues. And here something important happens. After you finish helping her, she doesn't finish. She opens another topic, asks a different question. She laughs, she talks, she stays, as if the help was just the beginning. And psychologically, this is known behavior. When a person cannot approach directly, they create justified situations. Situations that make them seem normal, unremarkable. Asking for help is one of the easiest ways, because it doesn't raise suspicion. It doesn't carry a clear intention, but inside, it carries a desire to connect, to be close, to create shared moments. And the more this behavior repeats, the clearer it becomes that it's not just a need, but a choice. She chose you among everyone, and that in itself is a message. But it's a message that isn't spoken. It's just understood. Then comes a completely different moment. A moment when she starts talking about her life. Not the usual talk, but the talk that isn't said to anyone. She sits with you or writes to you, and suddenly the conversation shifts from superficial things to personal things. She starts talking about her day, then about her exhaustion, then about her feelings. Then, without clear introductions, she dives into the topic of her marriage. She says things like, I sometimes feel misunderstood. There's no one who listens to me. Life has become a routine. At first, you might treat it as ordinary venting, but over time, you notice a repetition. The same topics, the same feelings, the same frustration, as if she is not just talking, but emptying something inside her. And more importantly, she chooses you to listen. Not her friend, not someone close to her. You. And here, everything changes. Because talking about marital problems is not a simple matter, and it is not done with just anyone. Especially in an environment where a woman knows that words can be misunderstood. But she, despite that, talks, and this carries meaning. From a psychological perspective, when a person feels emotional emptiness, they seek a place to fill it, someone to listen to them, understand them, feel them. And if they find this person, they start to open doors they hadn't opened before. Talking becomes a means of getting closer, and complaining becomes a bridge. A bridge to a deeper relationship, not necessarily a clear relationship, but a relationship with a connection. And here, you start to feel that you are not just a passing person in her life, but you have become a safe space. And this is the most dangerous kind of closeness. Because it is not easily seen, but its impact is very strong. And with all this, another behavior begins to emerge, a behavior that may be obvious or hidden, but always leaves a mark. Her jealousy. But it is not direct jealousy. It is not jealousy that she states openly, but jealousy that shows in the details. Mentioning the name of a girl in front of her. She talks about a colleague, or even jokes about someone else. And suddenly, the atmosphere changes. Her response becomes different. She might go silent, or respond in a cold manner, or even joke, but with a tone that has something strange. And sometimes, she distances herself, for no clear reason. She talks less, disappears for a while, then comes back as if nothing happened. And here, you start to connect the dots. That every time this happens, there is one common thing. The presence of another woman in the conversation. And this is not a coincidence. Psychologically, jealousy does not come from nowhere. A person does not feel it unless there is interest, real interest. Even if it is hidden, even if it is not acknowledged. The idea that you might be close to someone else bothers her, not because she has a right, but because she feels something that makes her not like to see this happen. And here the contradiction appears, because she is in a position that does not allow her to show this feeling, but she also cannot completely hide it. So it comes out in these ways, indirect, unclear, but felt. And you feel it. You feel that something has changed without a single word. And here you start to realize that what is happening is not simple and not fleeting, but a series of signals that, if you put them next to each other, become a complete story. A story that hasn't been told, but it is lived. Sometimes everything seems calm on the surface, normal, simple, carrying no clear meaning. But deep down, there are very small details. If you focus on them for a moment, you'll feel that something is moving beneath this calm. You might be sitting with her, or even in a place with other people. The conversation is ordinary, nothing remarkable. Light laughter, simple words. But suddenly you notice something. The way she sits, the direction of her body, as if she, without realizing it, leans towards you. Not in an obvious way, not in a way that anyone could easily notice, but you notice. The more she talks, the closer she gets. The more she is silent, the more she waits, as if her body knows something that words do not say. You also notice that when she laughs, she looks at you first, even if there are other people around, as if she wants to see, did you laugh? Did you like what she said? And this feeling is strange, because you start to feel like you are the center of her attention, even without asking for it. Then there are those small moments that can't be easily explained. Your eyes meet for a second longer than necessary. Not just a fleeting glance, but a look that carries something. Something like a question, or perhaps a silent confession. And the moment you realize this, she quickly looks away, or she smiles, a faint smile, as if she is trying to hide what happened. And here, that confusion occurs, because you don't know, is this real, or are you exaggerating? But the problem is that this keeps happening. Once, twice, more. The same look, the same timing, the same feeling. And psychologically, the eye does not lie. It is one of the most revealing means of true emotions, even when a person tries to hide them. When a person is attracted, it becomes difficult for them to control their gaze. They look more, stare longer, then suddenly pull back. And this hesitation is evidence. Evidence of something being resisted, and not something that does not exist. Then there is another behavior that may seem very simple, but carries a deep meaning. She remembers. Not the ordinary remembering, but the remembering that makes you stop for a moment. Remembering details you said, perhaps days ago, or even weeks. A passing sentence, a simple situation, an opinion you mentioned once. And suddenly, she returns to it. She tells you, "You said that day such and such," or, "I remembered that you like this thing." And here, you feel something different, because you realize that your words were not trivial to her. They were important. They were saved. They were thought about. And this does not happen with everyone. Psychologically, emotional memory works differently. We don't remember everything. We forget most details. But we remember what matters to us, what touches us, what we feel something towards. So if she remembers your details, it means that you are not just an ordinary person in her life, but someone who has a place, even if this isn't said directly. Then comes another behavior that you may not notice at first, but when you do notice it, you won't be able to ignore it. She mimics you, not in an obvious or intentional way, but in very small things. The way you speak, some words you use, a certain tone, even the way she laughs sometimes. At first, it seems like a coincidence, but over time, you notice the repetition, as if she is reflecting you. And this behavior has a clear explanation. When a person feels in harmony with someone, they unconsciously start to mimic them, because they want to be close to them, to feel the same rhythm, the same energy. And this is called in psychology unconscious mimicry. And it is one of the strongest signs of attraction, because it happens without thinking, without planning, just because there is an internal feeling driving it. Then there are those moments when the distance feels different. Not a clear closeness, but less than usual. It stands next to you, a little closer. It sits so that the distance between you is short. Sometimes it touches you very lightly, as if it were unintentional. A quick touch, then it pulls away, but you feel it. It stays in your mind. It repeats itself in different situations. And here, it becomes hard to say it's a coincidence, because the body, when it is attracted, tries to get closer. Even if the mind says, "Stay away," And this struggle shows in these behaviors. Approach, then retreat. Touch, then justification. And this is what makes it very real. Then there's something else, deeper than all of the above. The way it listens to you. It's not just ordinary listening, but genuine interest. It looks at you, focuses, follows every word. It interacts, asks, returns to points you mentioned, as if you are important. Important in a different way, because it doesn't just listen, but understands. And this kind of attention is not given to everyone. It is given to those who mean something. Then there are those moments when it becomes silent. But its silence is not empty. It is filled with something. It looks, then goes silent, as if it wants to say something, but can't. And here you feel that there are words left unspoken, feelings that remained inside. And this silence is sometimes stronger than any words, because it carries what cannot be said. And in the end, you find yourself in a very strange situation. You haven't heard a confession from her. She hasn't said anything direct to you. But at the same time, you can't say that all of this is just a coincidence. Because the details are many, repeated, and consistent, as if they are parts of one story. A story that is not told in words, but understood through feeling. And here comes the real question. The question that you might have been trying to ignore all along. Were all these signs really just ordinary things? Or were you seeing the truth, but didn't want to believe it? And if you have gone through a similar experience, or ever felt that there is someone telling you something without speaking, what was the moment that made you stop and think, here, this is not normal? Write it in the comments, because sometimes someone else's story helps you understand your own.